Racing on Central Pennsylvania's dirt track has come to a close, and to say the least, it was a wild year through and through. From Anthony Macri leaving his family team after dominating PA Speedweek together, to Freddie Rahmer winning 14 times at Lincoln Speedway. The year has been jam-packed with action and drama, and that's why we are going to take a step back and look at the 2023 Pennsylvania Posse Racing season. The year started out with the Icebreaker taking place on a warm Thursday night in late February, where Freddie Rahmer struck first, taking a second Icebreaker in a row. Justin Peck got second in this race and also won the second race for Icebreaker weekend a few days later. Port Royal had their opening day a week later on a nice Sunday afternoon, where the mayor of Port Royal, Dylan Cisney, made a late move on Parker Price Miller to take his second opening day win at the track. Williams Grove had to wait until April for their opening day, and we will get into that in just a bit. Next, we need to talk about the World of Outlaws visit, as we were scheduled to have 4 races in the month of March. But 3 of them were cancelled due to rain. Luckily, Lincoln Speedway had good enough weather for the Outlaws to come into town on March 18th, where we saw invader Rico Abreu take the win. Devon Borden was the highest posse finisher with his best Outlaw result in 3rd place. On April 7th, we finally saw the first race at Williams Grove, and it was well worth the wait, as Zeb Wise and Anthony Macri had an amazing duel in the final lap, and Wise was able to secure the win to kick off the racing at Williams Grove. Weather plagued a lot of racing early on in the year, as expected, but the skies were clear for the Outlaws' second trip to PA, and the Gettysburg Clash was a treat for PA fans. Brent Marks and Chad Trout were on the front row, and Anthony Macri was just behind. The race came down to a last lap showdown between Marks and Macri. Somehow, Macri was able to rip the high side and steal the win on the final 2 turns from Brent Marks. The Outlaws were scheduled to have 2 more races at the Grove a few days later for the annual Morgan Cup. Unfortunately, Saturday's show rained out, but Friday was clear and sunny for Outlaws versus Posse action. The race was dominated by Brad Sweet as he led every lap and would take his second win at the Grove and become the first World of Outlaws driver to win on Pennsylvania soil in 2023. Another national tour stopped by in late May for Weichert Memorial Weekend, which included 1 race at Williams Grove and 2 races at Port Royal. Williams Grove saw a clinic from Lance Deweese as he dominated the Doug Ash Tribute race to take the win. The next night at Port Royal was night 1 of the Bob Weichert Memorial, and Mike Wagner got out to an early lead over Justin Whittall. Anthony Macri was able to make quick work of both as he moved into the lead 10 laps into the race, running the high side to perfection. Macri checked out from the field and was able to take the win on night 1. For night 2, we saw Lance Deweese and Devon Borden start up front, and Deweese was able to get a great jump on the start. Macri was able to move through the field 2 nights in a row, but Deweese was too strong, leading every lap to take the $25,000 prize and get 2 wins in 1 weekend. The following week was the 2nd annual Steve Smith Tribute Race held at Lincoln Speedway, which saw a great battle between Freddie Rahmer and Danny Dietrich. Rahmer looked fast, and Dietrich gave it all he had going to turn 1 on the final lap, causing him to flip and handing the win to fast Freddie Rahmer, which was his 5th win of the year at the track already. Rahmer went on to win the next week at Lincoln as well, setting him up to be a threat for the points during PA Speedweek. PA Speedweek was set and ready to go for 10 races over 11 nights, and fans were ready. Until Mother Nature had other plans. 4 races were rained out during the week, but luckily we still got some action in, and the first race, which was held at Lincoln Speedway, was one of the best races of the year. The Kevin Gobrak Memorial saw Danny Dietrich jump to an early lead until Anthony Macri contested him for the lead, and they put on a great battle. Brent Marks was able to catch up and contend for the win as well, making it a 3-car battle for the lead featuring the 3 best drivers in the state. Macri was able to claim the victory and strike first at Speedweek. The next night saw Macri continue his dominance as he pulled away to take night number 2 at Babs, and it seemed he was running away with the week. Weather forced the Monday Lincoln show to reschedule, and Grandview was a complete wash. However, the sun was out for a race at Hagerstown. The feature had Anthony Macri and Brent Marks start on the front row. Macri was able to keep the lead most of the way until Marks pulled off a daredevil move with 2 laps to go as he slid under a lap car to overtake Macri. Marks was able to hold him off to take race 3 of PA Speedweek and hopefully start a comeback in the points. The next night saw race number 4 at Lincoln Speedway, and it was all Freddie Rahmer as he showed his strength at his playground, taking the win. Macri was able to take second, extending his points lead over Brent Marks. Williams Grove was able to get their second scheduled race, which we saw another duel between Brent Marks and Anthony Macri. Marks was able to keep the lead from Macri and take his second win of the week, setting him up for a good chance going into the weekend. Unfortunately, The next few nights would rain out as well, leaving only one more race, which was at the Port Royal Speedway, which mathematically handed Macri the Speedweek title. And just to top it off, he ended up winning that race as well. Just over a week after Macri and his family team dominated PA Speedweek, drama struck as Macri Motorsports released a tweet stating that Anthony was stepping away from the car and Lance Dewease was going to be driving the car that night for the Eldora Million. Rumors flooded social media, and to this day we still do not have a concrete answer on exactly what happened. Just a week later, the Outlaws were back in town, and this time were racing at Baps Motor Speedway for the first time in 31 years. The race did not see any Posse drivers fighting for the lead, but it did have a great battle between Outlaw Championship favorites David Gravel and Brad Sweet. Gravel was able to take the lead over Sweet and take the win. Later that week was the Summer Nationals at Williams Grove. The first night looked to be all Brad Sweet, looking for 2 in a row at the Grove until Logan Schuhart stole the show, winning in style at his home state with a photo finish at the end. The next night saw Rico Abreu take his first win at Williams Grove and claiming his second win in Pennsylvania for 2023. The day after the Summer Nationals, Lance Dewease announced he was relieved of driving the 69K after years of success and multiple wins this season in the car. Soon after, Logan Wagner announced that he would be driving the Kreitz car for most Port Royal shows. The team also picked up Justin Henderson to run the National Open Williams Grove and select other shows. Just a few days after this news, on Wednesday, July 26th, the High Limit Sprints showed up to Pennsylvania for the first time, and we had a treat, as Kyle Larson looked like he was going to dominate, but Rico Abreu made a daring move on the inside and was able to take the lead over Larson, and take the win at Grandview, for the first ever high limit race on Pennsylvania soil. The 2023 Dirt Classic was a 2-day event that started with a 10K to win kickoff race that saw, surprise surprise, Freddie Rahmer lead from flag to flag, picking up his 13th win at the track for the year. The next night was the 10th Dirt Classic, and Troy Wagman and Rahmer led the field to green, and Wagman led the first 19 laps of the race, looking extremely strong. Around the halfway point, Macri, Rahmer, and Marks were battling for second. Marks got by the two just before they tangled in turn 2, ending their nights. On the restart, Marks charged to the lead and pulled away. Danny Dietrich was able to catch him on the final lap and drove it deep through turns 3 and 4, but could not stay off the wall, making it a drag race to the line where Marks claimed his second Dirt Classic in a row and the $20,000 prize. He joined the likes of Stevie Smith and Brian Monteith as 2-time winners of the Dirt Classic in its short 10-year history. Fair Week only saw 2 races due to rain, but Dylan Cisney picked up his second win of the year on the Labor Day Classic over Brian Brown. The other race that got in was the night before the 50, where Tyler Courtney took the win over Lance Dewease. The Tuscarora 50 was unfortunately rained out the next day due to rain and moved to October. The Jim Nace Memorial National Open was the next big race during the month of money in Pennsylvania. Brent Marks had been on a tear over the last month, winning race after race, and this $26,000 show was no exception as he dominated. 2 weeks later was the Champion Oil's National Open at Williams Grove, which is the crown jewel event on the East Coast for 410 wing sprint car action. Justin Peck and Justin Henderson looked fast during the first half of the race, but the same story was being told in the month of September, week after week, as Brent Marks came in clutch, taking the $75,000 prize, bringing him to a total of $121,000 just in September alone. The Tuscarora 50 had a different feel being run in October, as select World of Outlaws joined the show based on their eligibility. The feature looked like the same program on rerun. Marks was out ahead in clean air, controlling the race easily. This all changed as he spun out trying to lap TJ Stutz, which took him out of the race. This handed the lead to Chase Randall, who had an impressive night. On a late race restart, Brian Brown made contact with Randall off of turn 2 and took the lead. Brown was being chased down by Kyle Larson in the last few laps, but was able to hang on and take the $62,000 prize. The World of Outlaws also had 2 more shows that weekend that took place. The first race on Friday night was won by Tyler Courtney, picking up his second win at Port Royal of the year. The next night was also won by an all-star competitor, which was Zeb Wise, who had a commanding win over Lance Dewease. Getting towards the end of the year, we still had 2 more races that needed to be run, and both were at the Baps Motor Speedway. In the first race back, this was the first time we saw Lance Dewease in the Shearer 12 car, and Anthony Macri was back in the Family 39M. Troy Wagman was able to hold off competition restart after restart and claim the victory, and now we're at the final race of the season, in November, held at Baps Motor Speedway, where it was $25,000 to win an $83,500 prize pool. The race looked like it was going to be very similar to the October one, as Troy Wagaman was out ahead. Chase Dietz was giving him some competition, but could not quite get there, until a late race restart which saw Danny Dietrich send it all into turn 1, and he pulled away. The veteran driver took the last race of the year and the $25,000 prize. Now, taking a look at the track champions, Freddie Rahmer won at Lincoln Speedway and Williams Grove. He had 14 wins at Lincoln Speedway and 2 at Williams Grove Speedway. He also won by over 2,000 points at Lincoln Speedway. For Port Royal, we saw a different champion, as Devon Borden won by 200 points over Mike Wagner, as he had 5 wins at Port Royal on the year. Now looking at the top 5 for wins out of the Pennsylvania Posse for 2023, Freddie Rahmer led the way with an impressive 17 feature wins, which was the most in the country out of any sprint car driver. Brent Marks was second in PA with 10 wins and had the most winnings, just north of 260,000. Anthony Macri ended up with 7 wins on the year, as well as Devon Borden, and Danny Dietrich ended up 5th with 6 wins on the year. One story that was missed in this recap but should not go unnoticed is Chase Dietz, who ran 32 races in his own car that was built in his garage during the offseason. They picked up 3 wins on the year, and he even ran a few Silver Crown shows that started with a runner-up finish at Port Royal on his debut. And that's going to do it for the 2023 PA Posse Racing season. Let me know what your guys' favorite story or race was in the comments down below. Make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video.